You are listening to the For Flourishing's Sake podcast by Frederica Roberts. Welcome to episode 36. Over the past couple of weeks, I've brought you snippets of the recent mental health and well-being panel that I hosted virtually on YouTube. I will bring you more of those snippets in the weeks to come, but for now, I want to bring you a very special guest, the lovely Anni Poole, who is a former head teacher and somebody who is passionate about well-being. I'll let her tell you the rest.
Well, good morning, and thank you, Fred, for the opportunity to share an understanding about well-being. So let me tell you a tiny bit about me. I'm a Cumbrian and a former head teacher, and I have oodles of compassion. But there's a cautionary note there for anyone who's listening in who might be human. So that's teachers, carers, anyone in education. Sometimes that compassion volume is a little bit too loud and it can wear us down. So I regulate mine now. The other side of me is the fun-loving side. It's not frivolous, it's memory-making fun. And the interest in well-being came to me as a former head teacher, working with lots of families and the changes in the families. We went from one child in the school coming from a breakdown in family relationships to 30% of our community in a year. And so I did advanced skills in counselling. But what I'd like to point you toward today is an understanding that I learned when I took early retirement. I spent the kids' inheritance money and I went off on the global stage to Los Angeles and London and New York, working with some of the top psychiatrists. So I've trained for 2 years and I've got 50 hours of coaching supervision. So I really take this well-being quite seriously. And it's my intention today to point you in the direction of your inner peace. It's always accessible and always to hand. And I want to try and share an understanding for you, giving you 3 key facts. First of all, well-being, the well-being that I'm talking about is pre-concept, before we construct anything. It's a very special inner space. And secondly, don't listen to a word I'm saying this morning because I'm making it all up. Thirdly, there are universal principles behind life at play, greater than we are, bigger than who we are. So I'm going to try, if I've got time, to use metaphor and story to share this simple understanding. So looking at our human nature, there's a season, a pattern, a cycle, and we know that because it's been so stormy in the last few days. And our thinking can get quite stormy. And once life settles down, we can see that cycle again, that cycle of birth, an acorn becoming a tree. How does a seed know to become a tomato? Well, we can see that unfolding unconditionally. And there's a clue. Imagine if the sun had a bad mood when it came up. So let's explore moods and feelings that might be less than okay, within that space of well-being, that infinite possibility of always being well. So as part of that universal intelligence, we have a consciousness, an awareness through our senses. And in order to be aware of something, we've got to think about it. So we have thoughts and feelings, and then we behave. So we live in a thought-felt experience of our world. We think it, we feel it, and we live in the quality of that thinking. And as far as I know, I create my own thoughts. They're not delivered by that online shopping creation that comes in a box on a Monday morning. I create them. So I want you to imagine a horizontal line, a continuum. And over on the left-hand side is the unconditional space of love. That's who we are. That's the place of nature. That's our starter pack when we're born, that unconditional space. We see it in babies and toddlers and in our pets. And on the far side of that horizontal line, that continuum, is that conditional, caged-in space that we put ourselves in, that insecure space we all feel. And to illustrate this, I want to very quickly tell you about a little girl in year 6. She'd gone home on Friday, bouncy, happy. Something happened to her over the weekend. One tiny thought. And she played in that thought, a negative thought, and she got so concerned that come the following week, she didn't want to come into school. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, in the car park, wouldn't come into school. And the head sent for me in despair. And everyone was looking at that construct of fear that that little girl had made. I said two things to the head. Firstly, she legally has to be here in school. Secondly, let me sit with her. And the head's thinking fell away. She went into the car park, brought the girl into the school, and we sat together in the entrance hall where she could see her parents. Now, the key thing here is seeing beyond that construct and the story and the insecurity that's going on in that space and connecting with that human being without anything to fix, without having an outcome, just being in the moment, simply being you. So the child settled. I asked her if she wanted to share what was worrying her. She said no, and that's okay because that's a construct. And I explained to her using a model that happened to be on the head's desk in front of me. I couldn't believe it. The Princess and the Pea. So we took off the laser mattresses, I got the pea and I said, this is your original thought. And carefully layered the mattresses up one by one. And this is all the construct and all the thinking and the fears that you've got around that one original thought. One small thought. We all have worries. We all have conditional thinking. And when we decide to go there, it feels real and scary. But it isn't, it's constructed. Just remember, we have infinite possibilities to be well. And that little girl skipped off happily back to class.
Thank you, Annie, for that beautiful story. I will be back, of course, next week with another instalment of this podcast. And until then, stay safe, stay well, and for flourishing's sake, have a great week. Thank you for tuning in to the For Flourishing's Sake podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I'd be really grateful if you'd spread the word. If you'd like to get in touch with questions or comments or to contribute to a future episode, please go to forflourishingsake.com where you'll find all my contact details, and there you'll also be able to leave individual comments on specific episodes. I look forward to hearing from you.